Welcome back. Well, a lot of headlines coming in from the global space. In fact, US-China trade relations is expected to get better at the 2018 G20 summit, which will take place in Argentina this week. Now, Chinese foreign minister has been quoted as saying that Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping have agreed to reach mutually beneficial agreements. To discuss this, we have Bruno Vistrate of Lakefield Partners on the phone line with us. Bruno, thank you so much for joining us. First up, what is the significance of this G20 summit, and do you expect any kind of agreement really happening at this particular summit?
Yes, good morning. Well, I believe that the relevance to the markets cannot be underestimated. I think this is seen as a deadline to come to a calming of this global trade war, and that this is basically cooling off, and that the markets also know where they stand. And I think there's a lot of back and forth, retaliation of words somehow on setting the scene and making sure that this is done to the best benefit of any of the two. I think we will see some of those words being launched from one side to the other in the days to come. Clearly, I think the U.S. has every benefit to do it, but in the long run, I think it would be a very bad thing for global trade anyway.
But Bruno, this to and fro has been going for a long while. What gives you the confidence that perhaps this time we'll see the culmination of it? And overnight as well, we got some headlines from the interview that one of the reporters had with the President Donald Trump, that it's highly unlikely that they will not go ahead with putting tariffs on China in the month of January. What's your sense on that?
Well, I think that is President Trump's way of diplomacy. I think he is threatening and trying to say that be careful or else. In the end, I think there's not that much left. Let's be fair. And I think so far he has guarded the U.S. companies which have imported stuff from China, and I think that even that is coming under threat. In particular, I think portables and even phones being imported from China into the U.S. would be imposed in this round as well. And that so far he has been able to shield to the largest extent. I think that would definitely be harmful to specific industries or specific companies. So let's hope it doesn't get that far. And I think in the end, both of them realize that the lesser damage done, the better it will be for them politically.
Bruno, last 2 days or so, we've seen a couple of global banks come out with their a broad assessment of how 2019 is likely to pan out. And one common theme between at least two of these global banks is they're saying that while global developed markets will slow down, emerging markets will continue to do well. So they're drawing a clear distinction between how performance may pan out in going into 2019. Do you broadly agree with that, and what are your thoughts?
I think in a moment of crisis, it's definitely the region which will dominate the performance. And I think looking at the indications we have on global growth, I think emerging markets do stand out. Clearly, for some emerging markets, the commodities are playing quite a dominant role in their performance. But having said that, I think they do start to have a dynamic on their own, specifically in Asia, where intra-trade is clearly setting them apart from whatever consumer demands there are outside of Asia. So I think it would definitely make sense, given political issues, be it Brexit, be it Italy in Europe, and then of course the fact that the US is really at full speed and could potentially only slow down going forward.
And Bruno, what's your sense on crude? Because the last time we talked, you were quite bullish on crude, but it has come off quite a bit from the highs, down about 30-35% from the recent highs we had seen. Where do you see crude heading now?
Well, I think what is most astonishing is the volatility of crude that we see. I mean, some drops of 5%, even more in one day, is unseen before. So there's clearly some dynamics at work in that market which are, I think, away from fundamental demand. This is clearly not demand-driven. I think it's more supply-driven, and even that will calm down going forward. I think there is a political agenda as well that one needs to take into account. and we all know how difficult it is to interpret politics. But purely from the demand side, I think what is going on now is good for the consumer. And if oil goes back up, I think that will only be normal from a fundamental point of view.
Okay, Bruno, thank you so much for joining us with that perspective. So, making sense of all the global headlines that we have been getting through the day. But on that note, let's take a short break on the show. Come back, we'll discuss more on the markets and a lot of stock-specific action.